father and mother, a little hippie and a little southern. Just what I needed so bad, but never saw it coming. She liked to get high.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Appalachian Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. I'm not being joined by my red coat co-host this week, Simon. He's back home milking the goats or
helping out,
playing tic-tac-toe, whatever the hell those British people do on Memorial Day weekend. Should be out there kissing our asses for saving them a couple of times back during the World Wars, but that's a different. I can't talk too much when he's not here, but we are here at the Libertarian Party National Convention with our good friends from Being Libertarian, Chip Slate, and for the first time, Mat Blankenship, who runs our Twitter page over there. Now, we've had Chip on the show quite a few times. Y'all are very familiar with him, but Matt, it's great for you to join us here today, and thank both of y'all for sitting here and having a minute.
It's good to be here in the District of Criminals with everybody here, so it's good to be here.
That's right. We're in the hive directly, and it's crazy the energy that you can feel around here with Trump's speech tonight, and then RFK and Vivek Ramaswamy yesterday. It's been wild.
Yeah. Now, if it's really hard to hear, I just want to let y'all know that I packed everything I possibly could, except for the one thing that I needed most, and that was a cable that connects my soundboard to the interface. So Chip and I woke up this morning early to go make a trek. Figured surely as hell, the nation's capital with 1 million people, we can find a freaking place that has the one cord I need. So we navigated the streets to DC, and we got to a Target, which, I kind of felt like the Target in there. No less. There was also a Best Buy right next door. So we're going to the Target, which said it had it in stock. They don't. Then I said, well, Best Buy opens in 20 minutes. I'll sit outside and wait. Best Buy of all places does. How do they not have it is beyond me. So then I was like, find a music store, call the guy. I explain exactly what I'm looking for. He says, yeah, we got those. I get there. He ain't got them. So we're all having to share one mic sitting around this table. So I hope the audio is good enough because we're going to have a few other people that come by. But, before we get there, and y'all too, Being Libertarian is a massive brand. And I've found that out over the past couple of conferences we've come to about all the people that come up to you all and, say hi and say how much we appreciate what you all do. And I know y'all are doing it on two different platforms, which to a lot of people doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems like it'd be the same, but they're very different. Each platform has different algorithms. You got to play each of them differently. So, for y'all kind of just explain, how cool and interesting it is to be a fairly decent player in the social media game where you have very influential people reposting your things and sharing your things and getting your ideas out there.
Well, Matt and I were talking about it. Who would have thought that memes would bring us to where we are today? I mean, covering Donald Trump and RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy with press passes. I mean, the access is unbelievable, and we've tried to give that back to our audience. On X especially, I know we're doing live streams there for all the events here. We'll have Trump tonight. So definitely tune in for that with X. And, we tried to do it with Instagram, but unfortunately, they told us we'd have our live feature back. And of course, it doesn't work. So that's the battle that we continuously fight. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, it's been really, really cool in the last few years, especially since Trump got in, where it's just been one of those things where it's just kind of gotten bigger and bigger, and our reach has been really cool to watch because we get to see different people that you don't even would think would be having eyeballs on us, but they somehow we come across their feed and they're retweeting it, and the next thing you know, we got a bunch more followers, and then we get a whole new a crew of people that come in and share their stuff. So it's been really cool to see people from in the political world, but also through different celebrities, movies, and singers, MMA, sports stuff. It's been really cool to be able to interact with some of these people, and it's been just a wild ride.
Well, it speaks to how I think libertarianism touches so many facets of life. I mean, we do have UFC fighters, MMA, wrestlers, intellectuals, across the gamut. And, we have folks DMing us to, make sure we talk to them, and they want us to cover their people. I think, RFK's folks wanted us to make sure we cover Shanahan on tomorrow. So, these things, it's cool to see all the work, because it has been work, y'all. It's cool to see all this work have a payoff and actually keep expanding like it is.
Yeah, I think people don't quite understand. And by people, I mean, like my wife, she, it is a little bit more work than you think. Now, granted, we are having a good time up here. I think this is a lot of fun, but they always say you should enjoy your job. So I look at this kind of as a job and I enjoy it. As you said, we got the press credentials. We applied and you all applied. So Being Libertarian Media and Appalachian Media both applied for press credentials. We both got them. Big shout out to Brian, who's been operating the media circus here this weekend. He's been doing a phenomenal job.
It's from Lines of Liberty.
Yeah, catch him on the Lines of Liberty podcast. It's one of the better liberty-minded podcasts out there. I used to listen to him a little bit more. I don't have as much time. I'm trying to play catch up because I only work 3 days a week now, so I got to pack a lot of shows into 3 days of work. But they've done a phenomenal job. I think the LP's done a phenomenal job of putting this together. The one, I think the one negative takeaway I would say from this conference, the one thing that stings just a little bit is I think many libertarians and liberty-minded people that follow the party were really expecting 2024 to be our year. We were all hoping and expecting to see, Justin Amash and our good friend Spike Cohen and Dave Smith and all these high prolific profile names getting out there and putting them on the map. And by the time the presidential nominee was announced, which would be this weekend, then we would have one of those guys that would really be able to question and put to the forefront some of our ideas. And unfortunately that didn't happen. So here we are this weekend with RFK, Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald Trump all speaking, and we don't really have a solid position. We don't have a candidate that just, and it's no disrespect to all the candidates. I really enjoy some of them. I like Mike Tremont quite a bit. I think Mike Tremont would be a phenomenal person in any administration's cabinet, much less libertarians. Would he be a good president? I think so as well. I think he would be good in that position. But unfortunately, the game has changed quite a bit. The same kind of politicians that were getting elected 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it's not like that anymore. It's more about what kind of buzz can you create? What can your online presence be? And that's where we're really slacking, because the online presence people we have in the LP aren't the ones that are running. So, I think we missed out on that. But aside from that, I think everything else this weekend has been a massive success for the party. What do you think?
Oh, no doubt. I think Angela McCardle, all credit to her as the chair of the Libertarian Party for putting this together and making the extremely big decision to include, the other party's candidates in your own presidential election or caucus. It's that was a bold move, and I can't say enough how I think it's paid off for her. And I'm so thankful she did that. She's basically given us this opportunity. And it's like, I had a friend message me this morning. He asked, "Are you at the Libertarian thing?" And he's somebody who doesn't really keep up with that. And, I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Well, I just saw you on I saw that on the news. It's on the front page." And so it's done what she intended. It's gotten the word out there, and I think it's going to open up libertarianism to a larger audience.
Well, Matt, this weekend's the first time I've met you, and I kind of know Chip's story, but what really got you into the libertarian mindset and the libertarian world and interested and, kind of progressing that, especially through, all the work you do on X?
Well, I think my story is pretty much like a lot of people's story. I was sitting around work. One day I used to be a firefighter back in the day. We were all sitting around watching a presidential debate. Happened to be the one where Ron Paul just torched Giuliani. And so we, at that point in time, I was like, that's the guy that I want, and then, a lot of other people around weren't too into it, but, I started looking up more and more and then got excited about it. And then when, the 2012 election came around, I was, all, excited about, kind of getting out there and going to do stuff. And then I blew out my knee and had to, sit at home. And so, what happened was, I was just at a children's bookstore with my daughter, and I looked at all these biographies for different historical characters for kids, and I was just like, look, it went from like George Washington to like Bill Clinton, and it was like, you had like all these people in the older days that people you could really look up to, and then you have that now. You just have like not a lot of people to do that with, and so I was, of course, big into the Ron Paul thing. And so I was like, I'm going to write a book about Ron Paul and see if I can put it out there. And then I went on X, it's Twitter back then, and just asked, hey, anybody would be willing to to illustrate this book. I've got an idea about a Ron Paul biography for kids. And like within 10 minutes, I had somebody contact me and, drew up a bunch of pictures went through it real good. And then, through that, started making Facebook pages and a Twitter page. And then, that kind of grew and blew up a little bit. And then, a couple of years later, Being Libertarian was asking on Twitter if they had somebody out there that wanted to do their Twitter. And I had a big cache of memes that I had been making for years. And it's kind of, I've been with Being Libertarian since maybe about it was right about the inauguration of Trump, I think, right about that point in time. That's when I kind of came in. Time. Yeah. So that's been my story.
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, y'all are very recognizable out there, and it's great to have y'all here and great to partner with y'all. I mean, it's, for me, I reached out to Chip about a year ago this week. We had Spike Cohen, come up to Franklin County, hung out for 3 or 4 days, took him out to eat, went up on the mountain. And that's the first time we brought Chip down because I knew they were kind of based in Floyd area. And I always wanted to reach out and say, hey, kind of collaborate a little bit. You're right there. We're here, but you're a massive platform and we're just coming up in the world. So I wanted to find the right opportunity. I said, well, we got Spike coming. If that won't get it done, then it's never going to get done. And since then we've had a good relationship and it's all, and we've been able to kind of collaborate quite a bit here over the past year and try and bring, continue what you all doing on your own side, but y'all have helped out an awful lot on our side of getting the liberty message spread to Appalachian people and trying to let them start figuring out how to get out of their own way and realize that the duopoly isn't exactly going to be, because you've got 90-year-old Democrats up there still vote blue that have been farmers their entire life. They don't even understand. If they really paid attention, they wouldn't vote for Joe Biden over nothing. But, you just got to get that stronghold in there. So, I'm glad to be up here this weekend. I think it's been a fun time so far. What is the biggest highlight for you so far? We still got Trump to go this evening. Last night, we had RFK, Vivek. We got to listen to Vivek then debate Clint Russell with Dave Smith moderating, that was fun. It was, like watching a live podcast. But so far for you, what's been the highlight?
Well, I think it started with that. That was a really good conversation. I thought Clint Russell did an outstanding job representing the libertarian view. And, but, kudos to Vivek for, doing this. He's caught a lot of flack. We had some hecklers, but he handled them really well. We actually posted that video. We'll post it on X. I don't think we've posted on X yet. The video of the heckler, and he handled it perfectly. He said, man, he's entitled to his free speech. I think Vivek knew where he was coming, and he had a great message that I think was received. But that was the highlight for me, I think, is seeing the reaction of the crowd to Vivek. Again, it wasn't entirely positive. They held his feet to the fire at certain points, and that I think was appropriate.
Yeah, it was. I think for me the highlight is just, on top of being here, but for us last night, we're over here scrambling around trying to get set up, thinking we're going to get a couple of minutes with Vivek, and we were completely clueless to how things were going on. So we're over here scrambling, trying to figure something out, and he walks right up to us and then starts talking to us and asking us how we're doing. And he tells Chip, he says, well, being libertarian, I recognize y'all's memes. I know your work. And he kind of pans towards me with this, well, who the fuck are you? Look, I'm like, I'm just a fat boy Appalachian here, sir. We're underrepresented out there. So I'm just trying to bring, us, up in the world a little bit and get some attention towards the Appalachian region. I said, because we kind of get shit on quite a bit.
But you represented it well. You represented it
well.
well.
You have to, you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to just roll with the punches. And, he shook our hand. He spoke with us for a minute, and then, he signed a book for Chip and I both and kind of walked around the corner. And then he did a little press conference thing, which was the first time I've ever been a part of any kind of press conference.
It was on the fly.
It was on the fly. It was up against the wall, but it's these ones you see. It's not like a sports press conference where they got the tables and everything. They just went over in a corner, put him up against the wall, and 10 people asked questions for about 5 minutes. And if you'll go, it's on the Being Libertarian. It'll be on X soon, but it's definitely on Instagram where it's floating over. The guy comes up and that's what he's talking about. Vivek handles the heckler very well. He said, I think his quote was, go fuck yourself if you're going to cuck yourself. And I just thought, well played on both sides. You know what I mean? Well played on both sides. So, for me, getting to meet him, I think was a highlight, and just walking around and seeing, a lot of the people that you notice on social media that you haven't had a chance to meet yet, and, some of their personalities. And of course, obviously last night during our RFK speech, we got to sit there and talk to Spike for about 45 minutes, which is a big highlight for me. Cause, it's as we talked about, it's last night, it's nice to look at Spike as a friend. Like, he is actually somebody, one of the few people that are, I guess you would call a politician or politically renounced or known individual, because I'm gonna be honest with you, it's one of the most genuine people who's been in the political world I've ever met in my entire life. And that's not hyperbole. It's not, he did come hang out with us last year, but he's kept in touch since. He always asks about how your family's like. Spike is a genuine dude.
And people
really
ask,
is.
why do you come to events like this? That's the reason, is because you're just hanging out. All of a sudden there's Spike Cohen, and you can go talk to him and ask him questions and have a conversation.
Yeah. And most of the time, and, Spike is actually one of the more receptive ones here. And that's what I'll give him credit for. Mm-hmm. You go up to him and ask him questions and talk to you. He makes it a point to speak to everybody and talk to everybody. So, this is just kind of our intro here. I don't even know if we'll hopefully we have a few people we're trying to sit down with. I know Chip has spoke with Ian Smith and
Jessica Reed Krause, who's, former Hollywood gossip writer who's turned a political analyst. She spent time at the Kennedy compound, then some time at Mar-a-Lago, and she posts about it on Instagram, sort of unfiltered. And she also shares our memes. So, I don't hate that a bit, but she likes to include every view. She's sort of an old journalist who's come back. So it's nice to see her and to help her. But like look at that right now. So, the security's setting up Secret Service over there. It's just, this is where memes have brought us. And
we're actually right here at the front too. We're at a nice litlittle section right at the door. We're not in the middle. So if we're either going to be the last person somebody sees or the first person.
Well, that's Vivek came to us first because we were right here.
Because that's the direction he came in. And I don't know. I don't think DJT is going to come through this direction whatsoever. But the people walking by here, it's just nice and it's cool. To be here, kind of handling all this stuff. So, we've got a few other. We've talked to the guys from the Libertarian Party, New Hampshire. I've got some friends from Tennessee. Michael White for Congress there in Arkansas has stopped by. I want to get them on the show for a couple minutes here. I'm hoping it happens. Can't promise anything. This is a very fluid situation, and we're dealing with squirrels, which is code name for Secret Service. They're all around the place, and they're keeping people. I don't know how we're going to be able to maneuver, but we're going to hope to have more people on the show. Real quick, before we hopefully jump to a guest, I just want to ask each of y'all, what are you looking forward to most for tonight? Matt, I'll start with you.
Well, I guess, Trump tonight is going to be an interesting thing to see how the crowd plays out. I think that's going to be potentially a unique crowd experience for a presidential candidate coming into a place like this. Other than that, pretty soon we'll end up getting a name for the Libertarian Party. A presidential candidate, and that'll be pretty good. We've been, doing polls on Twitter a lot, and we'll put, Trump and Biden and RFK, and then we'll have to put Libertarian Party candidate, and it's kind of a generic, and it kind of it's a big gap between some of the candidates there. So we'll finally have that name, and we can start putting those polls out and trying to get some name recognition for the Libertarian Party candidate too.
And what about you, Chip?
Well, for me, I think it's just seeing what happens to this energy. You've got Trump's energy that's been building up here, and you've got the energy of the crowd and the people here, which we saw at RFK and then saw a little more at Vivek. He was getting catcalls throughout his speech, depending on what he was talking about. So I'm anxious to see the crowd's reaction to Trump. But the cool thing is that all eyes are on this. All eyes across the country, the world, are looking at his speech tonight, because he's looking at this third party. And again, it's historic. When has there been the other two, two candidates from opposing parties, not only just invited, but welcomed to a third party's candidate, selection. So this is the first time that I can remember this ever happening.
Yeah, I will say for me, I'm looking forward to seeing just Trump speak tonight. And I know, it's probably the most libertarian thing to say, and you'll catch hell for that. But look, at the end of the day, you just have to recognize, what a big name he is and what a name he draws. And, I'd go listen to Kanye West speak. I would go listen to Xi Jinping in China speak if I had the chance, just because you're talking about a massive historical figure, whether you like it or not. So I'm really excited that they always talk about how Trump speeches and Trump events are so full of energy, and they're kind of like a comedy show at the same time. I'm looking forward to that. And for all the libertarians out there to say this is a bad idea and how dare you, bring these people to Libertarian Convention, libertarians. Well, most of you assholes out there are the same ones who, nominated Gary Johnson and Bill Weld out there. You know what I mean? Like, they're not libertarian at all. Bill Weld's a warmonger. You know what I mean? So let's take what we can get. This is bringing a lot of eyes. This is all over C-SPAN. This is all over CNN. And think about how many people out there that might not even know what a libertarian is are going to see Libertarian Party now. Well, it's not the Green Party. You know, it's not the Democrat Socialists or whatever it is. It's Libertarian. That's going to be at the bottom of the screen on all these channels. And all these people are going to say, well, I'm going to look into that. It can't be bad.
When are we releasing this shortly? Are we just releasing this today, or are we going to release it later?
Probably. I was going to maybe do it on Wednesday, my normal day, but we can't get it out early if we need to.
Well,
it depends. We're fluid.
Well, either way, because if they hear it now, then they'll know. I just want them to know to check out our live stream that's coming tonight of this. 8 o'clock.
It won't be released that early.
All right.
Yeah,
So
maybe I could do it to.
That's fine. So either way, they can go back and look at it and see how the speech went, because you're not going to see everything on the other networks, and we're in there setting up right beside like Fox News and CNN, and so they'll have clips. But if they want to get the full thing, they can go to X and check that out and get the whole.
Yeah, go to X, and I don't know, maybe I will pin it or something for a couple of days or something. That way, when you hear this episode sometime in a few days, go back to Being Libertarian on X, and then you can watch it in full live stream. They'll probably pin it to the top. And also, you're going to be streaming it from one of your other pages tonight on Facebook. So if you haven't, go back, and it'll be at the top of their video feed as well. So go ahead.
Well, it's the United States Space Force. We'll be streaming the Orange Man's speech, and that's we haven't streamed there before, but we have a big following there. It's about 300,000 followers. So they'll get a surprise. Something you don't get every day. All of a sudden, your favorite meme page is streaming a full-on speech from a former president. You just don't get that every day.
Yeah, and obviously go back to the Appalachian Podcast on Facebook as well. That's where I'm going to be streaming it, so we can all get a little, for me, it's more of just getting a live stream up, so Facebook recognizes me as not a robot, pretty much. But it'll be there. It'll also be on the U.S. Space Force page, and it'll be there on X. So go back and check it out even after the fact. Because if you're listening to the show, maybe you don't even know the convention happened this weekend. You're just figuring this out. But go back and listen to them. I know they also, if you want to scroll down their pages, they live streamed the Vivek debate last night and the RFK speech. So go back and listen to both of those. And, just notice how, these politicians pander. Very hard.
And you can hear the crowd. What I like is you can hear the libertarian crowd, which you don't. They're not used to that, and you can hear the speakers. They're having to work through that because they're not used to that in their speeches. So it's entertaining one way or the other if you watch it.
Well, perfect. So, all right, we're going to go ahead. This is our introduction. Hopefully, we're going to have some guests coming in here and get a few minutes here and there for some people. Whether we do or not, if we don't, we'll come back and we'll just do a recap later tonight when the show's over with.
We'll do something.
Yeah, we'll do something else. We'll figure out something. But in the meantime, Chip, Matt, thank y'all both. We're going to go through here and play a game of Red Rover with Secret Service, and then we'll be back with a guest, I hope.
That's right.
I think I got it right.
Do we need to go in there and check? All righty, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back, and we're with our first guest we're going to show on here today. I got my buddy Chip right beside me again, and these are some of my favorite guys in the Liberty world. I've shared a bunch of their stuff over the years if you followed us, and promoted a lot of the stuff they do because they're a big part of the Free State Project, which means, I guess, they're encouraging people to move to New Hampshire so you can get as many people involved in politics as you can to make it a more libertarian state. And, as we talked about ahead of time, that's something that I want people to get interested in Appalachia, because not everybody can move to New Hampshire. So let these guys explain to us kind of how that works. So we're being joined by Jeremy Kaufman, and what's your last name?
Wood. Zephyr Wood.
Zephyr Wood here today, who are representing the Libertarian Party, New Hampshire, not caucus, I guess, affiliate, I guess. So thank you, gentlemen, so very much for being here and jumping on the show.
It's awesome to be here. And, we in New Hampshire, we've got a lot of respect for a good meme game.
Excellent.
So this is like, when two great rappers, hop on a podcast, and that's what we're cooking with here.
Got the collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah, dude, honestly, so before we get into what all the Free State Project is about and what you guys are doing in New Hampshire, for you, Jeremy, I guess it was 4 or 5 months ago, I started really noticing you a lot more, and you are fierce. Like, you do not back down from anybody. How did that come?
That's what we love about it.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I was just
sometimes people are born that way, and sometimes it just hits me. I wasn't born that way, but after it just hit.
I couldn't. I think I was probably always a bit that way. I think also, part of it is honestly also just being, I'm pretty like rational and logical person too. And it's like part of it's what works and what doesn't, and like, I think a lot of people are actually attracted to the idea of someone who's going to be principled and who's not going to back down and, who will make the argument. And to me, sometimes the reputation becomes, oh, they just want to be edgy. They just want to be mean. That's not it at all. We want to have a respectful conversation. I'll have one. Part of why I won't be respectful to some people is there's not a possibility of having a respectful conversation with that person. And you've got to do tit for tat with that. If someone's not going to show you respect, you don't show them respect back. And so that's a lot of it, is definitely that kind of attitude. I don't know where it comes from, but it's just who I am.
We certainly appreciate it. Pushing the edge is kind of what we've done over the years. And I think that's important. But it's nice to see somebody that does it naturally, like we were talking about a minute ago. It's like you said, I'm not even trying, this is just me. And
well, you got to have a mix. I think it's about having a mix. I think a lot of people who say, oh, New Hampshire or me or Zephin gets it sometimes, too. Some people were trying to cancel him recently. And it's like, if you are saying that this is just about being edgy or just about being provocative, no, you're not being serious. But if you want to flip to being serious, I'll be serious at any time. Like this is partially because we can't be serious, so you got to meet the world, where it is.
Well, I'll say this, and the thing about it is a lot of the things you say in logical sense, they're really not controversial, but people tend to make them controversial and then turn them around and make a big deal about them. But all it is a lot of it's just basic common sense. Like people sling around the term racist and Nazi and all these buzzwords left and right, but typically it's when they fail to be able to argue their point. And I'm like, I see some of the things you say and people say, and I'm just like, no, dude's actually on point. He's not being intentionally controversial. He's just making a point, and now everybody's going after him. God, I mean, it's hard, but because.
And I think X provides a good platform for it because, you get to see the responses and then respond back. But you've sort of mastered the skill. Honestly, you've taken it to another level.
Look, I'll be honest. I was 18 years old when there would be like 100-page reply forum arguments about my guild's behavior in MMOs. So like it's not like I was born in it, like I've just lived in this. I was on the internet when I was 12 or 11 at the early ages of the internet. I grew up on the internet. The internet was my teacher, more than my teachers were,
It's going to hurt me to ask this because it's going to expose me. Was it EverQuest or World of Warcraft?
It was a game called Ashron's.
Okay. Anyway, man, that's incredible. I love that you've turned that skill into, perfection for the politics. I mean, it's great.
But no, it's again, I think it's about being correct. Like we want to be correct. Like there is always, because this is like one of our rules when we'll talk about it, like there has to be a point. It is not about angering people for the sake of angering them. Angering people can be part of it. I'm not saying that. Sure. But there has to be a point. I think I will say also this is both humor and some of the edginess. Part of what I'm trying to do, I think what we're trying to do is like, we're trying to get people to realize that there are kind of frames that they've been born into or been swimming into their entire life, like things that they've just accepted about, the way that the world works or the way that their values are, and it's hard. They've been indoctrinated since, birth. I don't blame them. But that's actually part of the anger comes when I can refute you logically. I don't get angry.
Right.
If you say like gravity isn't real or the earth is flat, that claim doesn't anger me. The anger comes from when I stumped, when I can't reason with you, is when I get angry. You must be wrong,
Well, and that's something like we've been talking about recently. There seems to be a progressive idea of we don't accept logic anymore. Like, logic sort of goes out the window. And so you start to have a logical conversation with someone and they respond emotionally and then they just won't accept logic. How do we combat that in society? Because that seems to be getting worse, even with our media.
Well, this is where, the New Hampshire answer and my answer is I want us to recognize our differences. There is something different about people with our psychology, and that's why we want to stay in the realm of logic. That's why when we don't get played by the emotional, tricks and these kinds of things. But I think there's actually part of why I became a New Hampshire maximalist is I realized like there are reasons that these ideas haven't succeeded. And it's not because the ideas are bad, but I think some of it is our our moral preferences are closer to aesthetic preferences or preferences. Why do you like chocolate ice cream and not vanilla? It's not a rational, kind of thing. And so I think some of it is we do, wherever this stuff comes from, it's very difficult to change. And so if you start realizing that, well, then you go, well, then maybe there's still enough of us. There's still millions of us who like strawberry ice cream. We could get together and we don't have to be excluded, but we're probably not going to win trying to argue with other people, And so obviously, again, libertarianism is not wholly that. We have our very good, because they worked on me completely. But a lot of libertarians, you just need to give them a taste of the arguments. Oh, well, that's clearly correct.
Right.
But you could take the same stuff and make someone read it, and it wouldn't work at all. And so if you can have that happen, it's like, well, how is that? That's got to be something that's closer to ice cream flavor preference than it is math or something. I don't know.
Well, help me out with this real quick, and I kind of want y'all's opinion. In my eyes, I think you all are probably the most successful state affiliate out there between your messaging, between what you're able to do, and most importantly is getting local people elected, because that's at the end of the day the most important thing. So you all kind of do these things, and being a very successful affiliate, you come here to this convention and all of a sudden you got RFK here. You've got Donald J. Trump here. You've got Vivek here. I like what you all do because you're very edgy and because you're very truthful and factual about it. You know what I mean? Like, you just come straight forward. This is who I am. This is who we are. This is what we're about. So I guess the question I'm trying to get at is, do you think that's the proper direction that the party needs to be going? Because I kind of tend to agree that, because the thing that sold me on the party was how Dave Smith was in your face, how Spike Cohen was in your face, how, Joshua Smith or Clint Russell, and then you guys as well, you're in your face. It seemed to be that around the time period of COVID, that was what was getting reactions, and that's what people want. They have that fire. So, here we are at this convention and we've got this fire going, and with the LP presidential candidates, I don't think it's what everybody expected, but how do you think this event has turned out overall and what it means to the party?
So generally what I believe is the worst place you can be in terms of how people view you is apathetic. If people do not care about what you have to say, you're going to lose.
Apathy is the glove in which evil inserts its hand.
Precisely.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Y'all got that reference.
If people react emotionally to what you're saying, that works in your favor. I came from the left personally, because they beat me to it. They were in favor of ending the war on drugs. They were in favor of ending the foreign wars, at least when I joined, when Bernie Sanders was really big. So they drew me in. But the thing that pushed me away was how, when people would present them with logical arguments, they would respond emotionally. And so I think that us kicking the hornet's nest is actually bringing people to us that would generally not come to us before. So, generally, when people look at the Libertarian Party, they just respond with apathy because, quite frankly, until recently, we were pretty boring. But now, all of a sudden, we say edgy stuff and we get a lot of attention. One of my favorite things to do, and I know Jeremy likes doing this too because he's always sending screenshots, but sending screenshots of LPNH tweets from 5 years ago that would just get 10 likes. We would have to be trying really hard, post at 4:00 in the morning, nobody being awake. That's what we'd have to do now to get 10 likes. So it's just night and day.
Well, that was going to be my question. It was just, what do you think of what Angela's done in bringing these folks together in terms of these other parties coming to the Libertarian Party?
I think it's broadly good. I think there's clearly a number of people who have small L libertarian beliefs who aren't in the Libertarian Party. And the first thing the Libertarian Party can do is bring those people into it. They're the most rational audience to try to adopt. This is going to be a nerdy answer, but it's something that came to mind. I'm like a startup guy, and there's these concepts in tech startups of product market fit, which is how much do people like your product? What percentage of people, when they try it, like it and want to keep using it? And that's product market fit. And then there's another concept which is product distribution. How, if you launch it, how many people will try it in the first place? You know, and there's a big, because you can have a great product, but if it's not distributed, it's not going to succeed. And but there are also ways to get distribution that might make people dislike your product more. And so there, you know, and so there can be trade-offs between these things. But I think right now, so part of this conversation is actually this trade-off discussion of like, well, do you want to increase distribution in these ways that might actually reduce your product fit, if this makes sense? But I think the LP should take that trade. I mean, I think we are lacking we're much more lacking in distribution and attention, you know, and so I think to the extent that trade is available, I think it's good. I think we'll have to see how it all plays out, right? It's a gamble. You should take gambles, by the way, when you're losing.
Sure.
So again, even if, I would like to be clear in terms of the way I judge things, even if this empirically ended up being a wrong decision later, I would still support the idea of making the decision because you need to be trying, you know, adventurous kind of things. It's the right, So at a meta level, it's the right idea. But we'll have to see. I would hope the danger, of course, is like that you're instead making people more friendly to Trump than you are working the other way. But I think, you know, the percentages, it's the reason when you're a small account, what do? You chirp on the bigger account, right? Because that's the way you get distribution from the larger account engaging with you.
Well, and look
it's the
at the
same
access
thing
that we're getting.
Yeah,
A meme page covering Trump, RFK, Vivek. I mean, seriously, Vivek walks up to us. He's like, oh shit, Being Libertarian. I've seen your stuff everywhere. You're all over social media. I'm like, oh my God, when are we going to get this opportunity? And so this is an outstanding.
Yeah, right now, I mean, the Libertarian Convention is all over C-SPAN. It's all over CNN. We went in there and got our press passes earlier. I see CBS News, C-SPAN, Newsmax. All these people are here. Like attention. And y'all know as good as anybody. Not that any attention is good attention sometimes.
Well, you can't win without it. It's not even the claim that all attention is good attention, but if you can't win without attention, then you need to get it. And if you're trying to get attention, you know, you're going to get a mix of results.
Well, and unlike past conventions, this is actually good, legitimate attention.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't contrived. This is real.
I don't believe there is such thing as bad attention. I mean, we saw this with Trump, right? Like everyone thought Trump getting all of this negative attention was going to be disastrous for his campaign, but he defeated the most evil presidential candidate to have ever ran.
It's all fun and games until you strip at a convention.
So I would maybe disagree a little bit. I think it's good to get negative attention is helpful when the message that you're getting through is still a message that some portion of people will believe in. So when people attack, Trump's a racist, but if Trump's saying something that like some portion of people agree with, then those people are helping him. There could be something that could be so bad that, you know, that it would be hurtful. But I actually think there's another very important point here, which is like, okay, if what we're doing is trying to get attention, we're trying to be creative, we're trying to be on the edge, there's a nature of that in which you will make mistakes. And so it's literally, if you're saying that this is what we're trying to do, then you're also going to have to accept that at least occasionally you're going to misfire. Right. And so the evidence of misfires can't be, because you have to accept that going in if you're saying I'm trying to do this kind of thing. You know, so you can talk about how you handle them or whatever, but someone, for example, who says, well, I like the vast majority of what LP&H says, but there's like this 5% I don't like. But the problem is that like that 5% is the same thing that generates a lot of what you do like, because it's the same kind of like avant-garde, creative kind of attitude.
Well, and additionally, when we do get attention with the things that people don't like as much, like one of the famous example is Happy Holidays.
That's good attention.
Yeah, that's good attention for sure. But a lot of people didn't like that.
Yeah.
But even the people that didn't like it have to admit, when people clicked on that tweet and then they clicked on the LP&H page, the first thing they saw was our Defend the Guard ad. And so that tweet got tons and tons of attention for pure libertarian policies, and that's undeniable. You can hate LP&H, but we do get attention for things that all libertarians agree are good.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, when it comes to the Defend the Guard thing, I'm a huge proponent of that. Considering in 2001, I decided to join the National Guard, and I told myself, I said, hey, you know, back then it'll look good on that with a college degree will look good on a resume. I'll be able to get me a decent, you know, back when we were fed all these lies that this is how you need to be to be able to succeed. Well, yeah, and I said, well, you know, I signed up for the National Guard. I said, I'm 2.5 hours away from home at college, but I'll sign up for the unit in my hometown, a podunk truck driving unit, right? With outdated equipment from the Vietnam era is what we were driving around in. I signed up in August of 2001. In September of 2001, I watched my same MOS's signing bonus triple, if you know what that means. And a year and a half later, I was there for the invasion of Iraq. We had no business being over there. We had no business being in the midst of that thing. We were unqualified. We were underfunded, under-equipped. We didn't get chest plates until 9 months in. And let me remind you, there were people on post who never left. There were finance people that were cooks that had chest plates just walking from their tent to the chow hall, whereas we were going outside the wire every single day. Taking fire, taking IEDs with no protection whatsoever. The only protection we had are things, which was the best thing about being a National Guard unit, is we had guys who had different jobs. We had electricians, we had plumbers, we had welders. We welded our own freaking stuff. We did our own stuff to make our stuff go. But when we got home, I went and spoke with Senator John Warner. I don't know if y'all know who he is, but at the time, he was the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, and he was part of our state. And he didn't have a clue the shit we were going through over there. And that's kind of the moment I became a libertarian, and it started pushing me in that direction. So with that being said, what you all do, I think is great, because a lot of people are going to say, well, you're pissing people off and you're turning people away. No, what you're doing is you're weeding out the weak people, because at the end of the day, society needs strong, tough, mentally, physically people. So if you piss off a few people who are going to say, well, I'm not following you, I would rather have 1,000 warriors than 10,000 weenies any day of the daggone week. Yeah. Absolutely. So with that being said, I love what you all were doing with the Free Straight Project. So I want y'all to talk a little bit about what that means, what that is, and kind of how that can apply to people who might not be from the area or might want to kind of follow it in your shadows.
So the idea of the Free State Project is to get as many libertarian activists to concentrate their efforts into one state as possible. We currently have the head count is about 6,000 activists that live in the state. But libertarians, we don't like to be on lists. So the only way that we have to really verify it is people voluntarily disclosing that they're in New Hampshire. My wife didn't sign that list.
Probably 10.
Yeah. No, it's probably 10 times that. And when I first visited New Hampshire, I was going around and I was asking normies that were operating the cashier, check stands and like the rental vehicle people, what's your favorite part about New Hampshire? And they'd be like, oh, I love the weather. I love that we have different seasons and all of that. And then they would also say, and I love that we're the live free or die state. I love that we have the freedom to do things that our neighbors don't. And so what libertarians that moved to New Hampshire are trying to do is we're trying to amplify that already existing culture, and we're doing it with similar tactics that the left has done to be so successful. What the left has done is what's known as the slow march through the institutions. And in New Hampshire, that's what we're doing. We have around 100 to 150 state reps who vote in line with libertarian principles. And when I say libertarian principles, I mean 90 to 100% of the time they are voting like ANCAPs.
How many?
Beautiful.
How many do you have?
100 to 150. So the way that we determine that is there's this organization called the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, where yeah, I do help run it, where every session I review like 300 or 400 bills in the New Hampshire House. So with the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, they review all of the bills that are submitted in the New Hampshire House, and we rate them based on how pro or anti-liberty they are. And then based off of that, we create a sheet for the legislators to follow. And if they vote in line with that, we give them a grade, rating from A to constitutional threat. So lower than an F. And it's not just the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance that uses these grades. There's groups all over the state that look to what this group that's run by ANCAPs like myself say about these state reps who have multi-million or in some cases even multi-billion-dollar parent organizations to help funnel money into these campaigns. So it's it's a very broad, diverse movement in which, and it's not even just political. My favorite part about living in New Hampshire isn't even the politics. It's just living in close proximity with people like Jeremy and others.
Community.
Right.
It's the most important thing is community.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore unless you work on it.
Right. And I do think in terms of things that are exportable from New Hampshire, I do think NHLA is one of the most copyable things. It's a model that could potentially work. But part of the real lesson here is, again, we're talking about 5 to 10% of the country as around like the ceiling of people that will be like proper full libertarians. I think that's like around what you can do. And so, I think I think therefore it's certainly, we don't want to go back to we can win everywhere. I don't think people have to necessarily be all in New Hampshire. Like something we could, for example, all agree on is like, let's encourage people to leave shitty states and go to better ones. Like, I would love to see, like, I don't think the LP should ever go all in on New Hampshire, but the LP could go all in on why are you in California, or why are you in New York?
And also focus on local elections.
Yeah. But, there's some potential, I think, for free state style movements, especially if you're in a state with home rule. So if you're in a state where a municipality has a decent ability to deviate from state regulations, you could potentially take over a town. I think there are a lot of reasons, federalism, constitutional protections, that you want to be targeting a state specifically. Like that is why we said we want to try to do a state. But yeah, look, there's a lot of power from concentration. And one of the ways you actually can convince the normie is through concentration.
Yeah.
Like this is actually the most persuasive thing to the average person, is to just feel like that's what everyone else believes.
Yes, that's true.
And so one of the ways, as much as people like to say like, posting on Facebook or whatever is like not, it actually kind of is, like in the sense that if the average community person, if the libertarians are in the Manchester, New Hampshire city Facebook group, and like, they might only be 1% of the population, but if they're 50% of the posts, they actually do feel it starts to, because a lot of they're normie people are often trying to follow the crowd, whereas the crowd, that implicitly, I'm not even saying they're like, that's just their psychology. And so that is one of the ways that we end up winning is it feels like more people actually, because we're very loud.
Hey, that's what progressives do. The progressives are only a minor percent of the population, and they command so much of the attention in media space.
Yeah, but also like Zephan said, we are also trying to do the March to the Institutions thing. We're trying to be. We're happy to be underwater. Like, look, if you're a pro-liberty cop, come to New Hampshire and be a cop. You don't have to stop being a cop. Come be an underwater libertarian cop. I don't even want to name some of the people we have. We have some people who have been hired privately. We have a guy who runs like one of the larger state libraries, is like secretly a free stater. we have a guy, we're getting people in. So getting people into the way that the government works itself, the ways that these institutions work. And so some of those underwater people, I'm very privileged. I get to like, swing my dick on Twitter. Like, but some of these people are actually the real unsung heroes. There are people who are like really doing the work and making the state, free.
And what I love about New Hampshire specifically is that we have a lot of opportunities to engage in bettering liberty in ways that aren't even political. We have landlords who accept cryptocurrency and goldbacks and plumbers and electricians and all of these people who are active members of their community. There's also what a surprise. We also have organizations that focus on bettering New Hampshire. Like there's this one organization called We Heart West, which focuses on cleaning up trash and things like that in West Manchester. In my community, I live in kind of a town that borders a lot of the metropolitan areas, cities with 150,000 people. That's metropolitan in New Hampshire. And I've begun to clean up graffiti in my neighborhood. And people see that. People see libertarians like acting like good community members. And it makes and I always carry and they want to be friends with us. They because we're good people and we're interesting people. And when there's a bunch of us together, we're a lot stronger and we're a lot like, I don't know, I came from California, and I was not involved in the liberty movement at all there. Like, at all, because it's like, why waste my time doing this? But being around all these libertarians in New Hampshire, I basically like rocket it up, you know?
Well, and one thing I was going to say with LPNH, it's you kind of how you approach things in sort of a tech way. How you say like, we have this available, and here's a template. Like follow what we're doing. You set it up so other people can follow what you're doing and do it exactly like you are, which is exactly what we need. We need exactly what's happening there to happen everywhere.
Yeah, we have these sort of I'm a big fan of this concept of private lies, public truths. This idea that there are sort of social niceties that people don't really believe, but there's a dominant, and actually I'm trying to do it the other way. If anything, in New Hampshire, but I am someone in my life. I am almost hesitant to use this word, but I'm privileged, or maybe I've earned it. But I'm in a situation that other people aren't in, where or many people aren't in, where I both having the density of people in New Hampshire, my business, whatever, like where I'm safer than other people are. And I think that means that I can be one of the guys who can go first and can say, and so I want to, because it absolutely creates safety for other people. And that's how you invalidate these situations where it's that same idea as the emperor has no clothes. This idea, for people who don't know the idea I was referencing. And so that idea of it takes people to be going first and to be acknowledging these things. And I will say again, personality wise, like when I was younger, people like Galileo were my hero. It turns out that story's kind of fake actually, but it turns out it's all politics and not the pure story you were taught in school. But the pure idea, that pure idea of speaking truth to power is something that was, always kind of psychologically appealing to me. And so I have also sought out things that are true, but people are like kind of unwilling to say. It's actually can be a good way to find businesses though too. Where are ways that people are swimming with a herd and missing something that could be true?
Well, I tell you what, man, I know y'all are super busy. We got a lot of things going on. Stuff is starting to get kind of weird in here now. You got, these things, moving around and stuff like that. I just want to let y'all boys know, I think what y'all are doing, I'm a fan of, and we support it, and we share it as much as we possibly can. And like I said, for a lot of people out there, if you've listened to our show before, we've had multiple episodes. Actually, we do one every year. It's called The State of Appalachia, where we bring on our good friend Smokey the Appalachia Stanley, who's a big homesteader and a big proponent of a free state of Appalachia. And we do a lot of discussions about that. And I think a lot of the things y'all are doing are things that we kind of pursue in that aspect. So if you're listening to this the first time, go back and listen to some of those shows, and hopefully I would love to get y'all boys to come down to Franklin County in Virginia one time. I know we talked about this a few minutes ago off air, but we can get Smokey out there to this, kind of go over some of our ideas. We'll put you up in a nice place, bring your families. We've got ATVs, we can shoot, we got a cannon, we'll bring some automatic weapon, whatever y'all want to do to have some fun.
Real cannon.
Yes, real cannon. Yeah, we'll fire the sumbitch. We'll put some tannerite in it, we'll blow some shit up. But y'all come down to Virginia. Look, we got references. You can help Spike and ask him. It's a good time. But we would love to get y'all down there, and if nothing else, also do like a public thing where we can get y'all out there so people can ask you all questions, because I really do like what you're doing. And for me on multiple levels, I like the social media kind of edgy kind of thing, but I also like what you're doing behind the scenes that's really making a difference. So I hope y'all can come down at some point in time and we can keep in touch. Obviously, we've met each other. We'll be more familiar and share, and I will send people more and more often to what you all are doing. But where can people out there find all of your different social media sites between the free states and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I'd recommend everyone follow LPNH. I'd also recommend everyone follow the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. I think that they're at NH Liberty. And I also have a personal account. It's Porcupine Law. I'm a law student. So, yeah. So
too many suits in the world, I think, but if you're good suits, I guess we'll have to take it.
Stefan actually has like 12 Twitter accounts.
Yeah, that's true.
How you move these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely follow every single Free State Project adjacent account that you can, because the people in New Hampshire are doing phenomenal work.
Yeah, if you want to hear from me personally, I follow all the accounts Stefan mentioned, and if you want to hear from me personally, I'm at my full name, Jeremy.
How you spell? Let's spell it.
Kauffma.
There we go.
Yeah, personally, honestly, I like following your personal account just as much as I do the LPNH account. So seriously, if you listen to this, go give them all a follow and look into what the LPNH is doing in the Free State Project. Look, these are things we can bring to rural communities all across the country. And if nothing else, start figuring out ways to get more liberty-minded people elected.
Yeah, I love that. I want to say, I do want to come down. I love the idea of the exchange, even the exchange of ideas that we were having, both on the show and before. It's so good. And people also they have to make their Mecca trip to New Hampshire. Like, I think Libertarians got to come once. Pork Fest is coming up. It's coming up in like 3 or 4 weeks, so maybe that's too soon for people, but come to a Pork Fest in the future if you can't come this year, or just come out sometime. I mean, you can come out any time of year.
The fall's beautiful.
Yeah.
Definitely come during the fall. And the cool thing about New Hampshire is because we're the libertarian homeland, we have events all year. Check out the FSB calendar, and you could pick when you want to come.
And didn't Vivek go to Pork Fest this year?
He did, and this is another reason I like him. He came to Pork Fest, and he didn't do the thing that RFK also came to Pork Fest, secluded himself, and showed up for like 2 hours.
Took everyone's guns.
Vivek, he hung out. He was just like walking around and hanging out. He'll talk to anyone, and I really respect people. Even if and there are things I disagree with him on, although, but people who will like just be in the arena, I always respect
and exchange
that.
ideas. I mean, somebody will talk with you,
and he'll talk to anyone, and
he can talk.
He's someone I want to learn from in terms of his abilities.
100%.
Yeah, I've really wanted to go to Pork Fest for about 4 or 5 years now, and for the last 5 years, my wife has either been pregnant or, and now we're obviously expecting our third here again in September, so it might be another couple of years before we can make. But that's something I definitely want to go to and encourage. Awesome. If you listen to this and you can make the trip the next 2 weeks, do it. It always seems like an awesome event.
I will say, just it's kid friendly. So I have 4 kids. All my kids will be at Pork Fest. It's an awesome time for kids too. So obviously, I'm not saying come, when you're about to give birth or whatever, but it is a kid friendly event. Yeah. And that's a great part. One of the biggest reasons about New Hampshire is the values that we don't like are very pervasive. And one of the ways to be resistant to those is to have a community. It's hard to do it by yourself. I mean, you guys have one, so I'm not, obviously, but that is what people need to be looking for the people who don't have that. Right. If you're going to have kids, you need to get to a place where you have other people who share your values.
Yep, and that's exactly what we preach in Appalachia. And actually, there are mountains in New Hampshire. Y'all technically kind of have some Appalachia in y'all's. Yes, so y'all are part of Appalachia as well.
This mountains in the world.
Exactly, and there's something about it. We
you won't miss those.
Perfect. And hopefully, and maybe not next year because his most recent little one will only be about a year old, but in 2 years when it's 2, knowing it's family friendly, we get a little bit more involved in everything going on. We would love to come up to Pork Fest. If nothing else, I do want to come up to New Hampshire, hang out with you guys. We'll grab a beer, do a show or something, but please consider coming down to our region, our little area, and we can do a big thing about it. We'll make it a big event. Y'all come and talk to the people about what you do and how we can do it. So thank y'all so very much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem.
Thanks.
So I did the thing where you make the end of the show like 10 minutes.
No, it was perfect though.
All righty, we're back with our next guest, Samantha McHugh, who is somebody that I've been following on X for quite some time and been going back and forth with, and it's good to finally meet her here at the convention. And I'd be remiss if I didn't offer my condolences to everything that happened over the past few weeks. I'll be honest with you. Since I joined this kind of world, I've met some phenomenal people through social media and have got to be some of my closest friends. One example is our good friend, Brandon. He's Smoke of the Appalachia Stanley on X and stuff. Yeah, he does the State of Appalachia stuff. Like when we first kind of got going, before we started getting bigger and bigger, I'd reached out to him. I was like, "Where are you from?" And he said, Floyd, which is right next door to us. Actually, that's where Chip and Being Libertarian is right next door as well. That's how we kind of got that going. But I'd reached out to him and I said, well, perfect, man. I love what you're doing. I'd love you to come on this show. And we've, him and myself and Chip and Simon, all of us have developed a nice friendship. We bring him over to the house all the time. And that is honestly what I envisioned with you all. When we first started reaching out, I was like, we got some people that are going to get to come up and not far away. We'll have these, these cookouty events. And so, that really saddened me. I didn't get a chance to meet him in person, but, so my condolences, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I get to meet you. So first introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, and then why you are here.
Sure. So I'm Samantha McHugh. I go by Susie Q on Twitter, Mountain Mama 988. And, I've lived in a couple different parts of this region or our region. I was a kid in Pennsylvania, Northeast PA, born and raised in Florida, but did a good chunk there. And then I met Bootleg, rest his soul. We met in Reno 2 years ago, and I was already shopping like that area, like Kentucky, Tennessee. Like I needed to get the hell out of Florida. It was just, it wasn't what I grew up in. I grew up with, swamp and potato farms and agriculture, and now it's just strip malls and real estate. And so when Hurricane Ian hit in 2022, late 2022, we had some damage, and the college I was working at, the lab was just had 9 feet of water in it, and we didn't know when it was coming back. And he goes, you know what? He's like, you want to just go? You want to go home? Because he's from Kingsport, Tennessee, real East Tennessee for everyone listening, not Knoxville, not Nashville, real East Tennessee. And we're right there on the border, Tri-Cities area, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee. And I fell in love with it. I mean, I've always been drawn to the mountains, and it's a little less commercial. It's more like you can instill the values that we wanted for our children. He had 2 boys. I have a boy and a girl. And I just love it. And I came here. Honestly, I got a lot of mixed reviews. Like, some people expected me to fall off the face of the earth and mourn. But I mean, we were both heavy activists with 2A legislation, ballot access, and the thing that keeps me going. I'm drowning in work. I'm every fight against the state he had, I'm going to finish it. We met at a national convention. I wanted to come to this one, kind of paying homage to that. And same as you, I've met amazing people. I've met my closest friends, and it sucks that a lot of them are far away, but I do intend to, I'm still here. I'm not going back. So, I'll come out and see you guys. And, I'm running for governor in 2026. So I wanted to network, same as you, and just get my name out there. And I've got a full 2-year effort ahead of this. It's not just a libertarian showing up 6 months before, hey, I think I'll do it. And I've got Lars Mapstead willing to coach me. Mike White from Arkansas. He's been after he's done, he's obviously still very busy, but next year, reach out to them for coaching, advice, and layout. And I wanted to come see them in person.
Yeah. Well, I know Michael. We've had him on our show before, and I kind of wanted to come by and jump on here. I don't know if we'll get a chance because we got to go in and cover this Trump thing. But yeah, you're right about the Appalachian region, especially East Tennessee. Appalachia's got so many different regions within their regions. My wife, she's kind of from coal country. Chip and I, we're kind of from moonshine country. Then you have the Smokies, and you have the Poconos. I mean, everywhere there's a little bit of difference, but we all have this same little fire about us. And it's, you can't really stomp us out. I mean, you can hurt us, but you don't really stomp us out. And so, that's why I'm glad you're here this weekend and for doing that kind of thing. I mean, I know, can't pretend to imagine, but at the same time, I think there's probably a lot of people that are glad to see you here this weekend. What motivated you to run for governor?
Okay. So, I've been a libertarian regardless of what state I've been in since, I think 2016, I officially joined the party. Like a lot of libertarians, what happened with COVID kind of thrust me into more activism, like going to school board meetings, showing up locally. And that's part of our principles. We believe in small government, and that it all starts there. And Chris and I, we had a lot of plans in the works, and it was that one of us were going to run here in the next 3 years. So we're currently suing the state for ballot access reform. We have an actual lawsuit down. Mr. Jim Lingers, our legal advice on that. Chris was the main plaintiff. Now I am. And we're highlighting just how fair and unequal third parties are treated. And it's not just Tennessee. We want to set precedent for everyone else. And other states are already on the ball. 13 other states are active in this. So we want to add to that. And being such a central, and, we get the hillbilly or Southern stereotype, but Tennessee is diverse. You've got more mountain folk kind of our way in East Tennessee, and then you stretch out to Nashville, and they look different. And we're music and arts. In Memphis. I call that baby Tennessee or baby Mississippi. But
blues are for Memphis.
Yeah.
Nashville's for country, and but actually Bristol is where country music is formed.
That's the museum and all. Yes, it's very rich in history. It's very rich in kind of defying. A defiant kind of vibe when it comes to government overstepping their boundaries. And unfortunately, There's a lot of, legacy Republican. We're a red state. It's always going to be a red state. You just have to, it's a lesser of two evils kind of vibe, but when I've heard, and don't make me name him, but I've heard a representative say Tennesseans don't need a third option on the ballot. It'll confuse them. I think that's disgusting. I think that simplifies our needs, our desires for liberty. And I've only been here 2 years. By the time I actually run, it'll be 4 years. But these values don't know boundaries. So I happen to be in Tennessee. I'm going to do it here. If I were in Texas, I'd do it there. So I have a passion for showing people that your liberties shouldn't come at the cost of some guy lining his pockets from God knows what, and I'm a mom. I want my kids to have, if it keeps going the way it's going and state by state doesn't set that precedence to reel them in, reel the powers that be in, who knows what their taxes will look like, if they'll ever own anything, ever, just what they've done with inflation and everything else. So I want to put my hat in the ring. I want to, and say I don't expect to win, really. I'm going to run like I'm winning. But even if I push my opponent, especially the Republican, to be more publicly liberty focused, oh, you're a 2A guy? Why the hell? What did you say about red flag laws again? Tell me again, say it out loud, because here's how I feel, right? And then he has to kind of play up to me. I want to attack from that side and force that side to be more liberty focused.
I think that's a good point. And what do you think about the way the convention is going now, and the way this direction basically it seems to be heading, where the Libertarian Party right now in this election is more kind of aligned with trying to sway either side to come more into the libertarian area. Is that something that we think it would happen on the state level too, where we can keep pushing the other two parties to come more libertarian mindset, or is that something that we'll be trying to win races on the state levels too?
Yeah, it's a multifaceted mountain we're kind of trying to tackle, right? Of course, we have the voting population and that segment of it. We have to tackle from come to our side. Here's why. But if you look at a national or state level, out of eligible voters, only 30 to 40% actually vote. So are the non-voters just that turned off by both sides, or are they just that atrophied that they don't care? That's really our big project. I feel that there's a big opportunity in the non-voting population, and doing things like petitioning for ballot access and getting the word out there and just educating them. That's kind of how I approach it. Obviously, I want to hit the Republicans from the right. I don't want to be well, this is why you should be more left. I want to make you be better, right? I make you look liberal, dude. Yeah. That's kind of how I want to handle that. But I also think my biggest hurdle will be an education factor, because especially in my parts of Tennessee, it's red or blue, and they're never going to do blue. What about gold, right? And I think I can speak to enough of the different demographics. I'm a single mom. I used to be a public school teacher. Now I'm a chemist. I work in the industry in Tennessee, and it's an automotive recycling part, but it's brand new. It's kind of a startup. It's not like the Eastman that's been there forever and this is how we always do things. It just shows that there's growth and potential and transformation that's still in Tennessee. You guys adapt. Mountain people adapt. We always have. So just because it's not, shiny and full of movie stars and everything else, we can have a good life there. So I want to tackle the non-vote, which is really the majority vote if you want to think about it. Just educate them, get them on board, get them out to the polls, get them out to the voting booths.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. At the end of the day, you have to look at it look, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to go change things. But if you're able to twist and prod and probe and get people to start at least acknowledging what your grievances are, then you're doing something right. See, that's the thing about these super crazy progressives out here you got to give them credit for. They're horribly, miserably pathetic human beings, but they all band together and they really go at one thing and they are able to be heard. Do they matter? No. But in the realm of culture, I guess, and media, they kind of matter because they find themselves to be front and center. So, I'm not necessarily saying use that tactic, but finding a way just to be able to get your name inserted, just be able to question people, I think is very important. So even if you're realistic and you don't, it's going to be very difficult you're just not going to invade the duopoly. But if you can put their feet to the fire and make them start having to answer some questions, at least what you're doing is if they don't adhere to what, your demands are, then next time comes around, you go against them and you find your contingent of people that will be able to go against them. You don't have to have the person in power, but if you have enough to be able to change who that person in power is, then you have power. Yes.
Exactly. I met an amazing group of people here from Libertarian Party of Colorado, and in their state, they actually have forged this kind of, I don't like to say bully, but it's a good thing of bullying. They have an agreement with their Republican Party. Okay, you stick to these pillars of what we find important, and we'll stay out of your local elections. How about that? But they hold them to the fire. If you start backpedaling on anything, if you're weak on a 2A issue or a property tax issue or something, like, they're going to run someone, and they have a big influence in these smaller elections. I'd never heard of such a thing actually being forged. So to meet those people here, and my jaw was dropped when they were telling me this, and I'm taking notes and I'm getting names, and I'm like, I went straight to my state chair and I'm like, this is what Colorado did. And it's just, that's why events like these are good. You can find who's been successful and what hasn't worked, and you should not even go there. Right. So I'm here to learn. I'm going to learn a lot on this campaign. I'm not coming in here thinking I'm just going to have the magic answer for everything, but I really think good 2-year effort, good team I'm building. We can make a little couple ripples there in Tennessee. So that's my goal.
Well, I tell you what, we got to go ahead and probably get off. It's starting to be kind of a shit show, honestly. Everybody's starting to line up. 280 press passes issued. Yes, we got some of them. We've got some stuff set up, so we're going to be live streaming once again, as we said earlier. I know this show's going to come out in a few days after this has happened, but if you hadn't had a chance to watch, go back to Being Libertarian's page on X and also the page on Facebook, U.S. Space Force. That's under the banner. And actually, the Appalachian Podcast, we're going to be live streaming as well. We're going to live stream Trump's entire speech. So go back and check all those things out. For the future, look, we have events up back home. I still want you to come up here and meet everybody. It's not a long drive, so whenever you get the opportunity, obviously you and I, we're always in touch. So when we have the next events, don't know about the 4th of July party yet this year. We're going to have to talk with Simon here in the next couple of days. But if the 4th of July party does go off this year, you most certainly should come up for that. And we're going to try and get Spike into it. We'll see. So, real quick, just tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and we'll go ahead and get started in this Trump event.
Absolutely. So I don't want to release my campaign info until it's all tied up and pretty, and I don't want to give you a website and a built yet. So we're going to hold off on that. But for now, I'm Mountain Mama 988 on Twitter. Susie Q is kind of like my alias, so I can still be employed and say what I want about the government. But my name is Samantha McHugh. I will be running for governor, and that's where you can find me.
Excellent. And actually, as we're sitting here, I just saw them open another door to, I guess, another entryway, and there are tons of MAGA hats. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like this for Libertarian Party. Like, we need to make sure that as many libertarians are in the midst in there. It smells like bacon. Well, hey, look, I'm not going to say too awful much. We're going to get ready to go play a game of hide and seek with the Secret Service. We will be back. Samantha, thank you so very much once again. I can't wait to see you. I'll keep in touch. I'll let you know if the 4th of July party is going down. Actually, you and Matt both need to make sure you make your way to that. Keep you in touch. Thank y'all again. And hopefully we'll be back here shortly with some other interviews after the Trump speech. And if not, we'll sign off at some point in time. Thank y'all so much.
Good luck, guys.
Good to meet you.
All right, folks, that's the end of our show. We didn't end up getting anybody else. It was a crazy fluid time, a lot of wild things, a lot of moving parts that kind of unexpected, but just want to say we appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate the LP New Hampshire guys, Samantha dropping by. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed our time there. Go ahead and look for our reaction show to come out at some point in time in the next week or so. We're going to release that on Patreon very soon. But we'll probably release it to the public at some point in time as well, because we had a really good time there. So thank everybody for having us. Thanks Spike Cohen for hanging out and giving us some perspective, and for everybody that we had a chance to meet and say hello to, Chip, Matt, and be sure to give Being Libertarian a follow. You can find us at the Appalachian Podcast, and our subscription page is patreon.com/getontap. We sincerely appreciate everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Shiner for many long years, and I spend all my money on whiskey and beer. Go down in some hollow and set up my still, and I'll sell you a gallon for a $2 bill. Don't kill me, Lord, live till I die. God bless the moonshiners, they're all friends of mine. But their breath is sweeter than the dew on the vine. Go down in some hollow and drink with my friends, with no women to bother me, see what I spend. God bless the pretty women, Lord, I wish one was mine. But their breath is sweeter than even moonshine. Shiner for many long years, and I spend all my money on whiskey and beer. I go down in some hollow and set up my still, and I'll sell you a gallon for $2